Hey guys, what is up? Mage here to do another World of Tanks console gameplay commentary. It's been a while since I've done one of these, but whatever. It's like riding a bike. No issue. In any case, we're on Step Standard Battle. We are in the M103. It's going to be a Tier 9 match. And this is one of my, not my first game back in the M103, but this is one of my first games back in it. And it's always been that tank that, I mean, this was my first Tier 9 heavy tank. And I thought it was always a pleasure to use, but not everyone, I guess, feels that way. A lot more people seem to prefer the Conqueror outright over this tank, and you can see why. I can understand why some people would prefer the Conqueror outright over the 103. The 103, it does have some advantages on paper. It does have more armor on paper. It does have a better power-to-weight ratio on paper. However, I would look at that armor, and most would look at that and say, well, the armor is, you have to say it's only useful against mid and low tier opponents, like this T-29 in front of me. Because when you run into E-75s and ST-1s, they're going to be able to punch right through you. They got the gun for it. And you could sit there and say the power-to-weight ratio is kind of negated a little bit thanks to the Conqueror having better soft stats. Not to mention the gun is just flat out better DPM, and it aims quicker than the M103's 120mm gun. At the start of the match here, you can see I have a little bit of a concern. I'm looking at the H7 to G8 spot of the map. I see a bunch of teammates camping, and of course on my side of the map I got two mediums camping and a heavy camping, and the other heavy is finally pushing up. Now, I didn't know the other heavy was my other top-tier colleague in the E75. And this guy in the E75, he gets it done. He has a very good game. We take a snapshot here at the beginning at the CDC. Now, I looked at the matchup. There's another M103 and a T95. The other M103 I'm not bothered by, but the T95 concerns me. And this is where people, I think, get into trouble with the 103. They seem to think, you know, it being a heavy tank, you engage people like you would in an E75. Don't do that. Yeah, against mid and low tier opponents like I am right now, yeah, I could do that. But you always have to assume a top tier opponent's going to show up and beat the hell out of it. This is the advantage of the M103 over an E75 or an ST1. It has gun depression. Engage people from a variety of locations. The gun, while it isn't as good as the Conqueror's 120, it is certainly better overall in terms of handling compared to the 128 on the E75 and the 122 used on the ST1 and, of course, the T10. And this is what I'm doing. I'm basically kind of playing it like a mobile, slightly nerfed T29. Now, I goofed a shot into the ground there. And when I say slightly nerfed, this tank can play hull down. It's just the turret is not as good as the T29. It just isn't, no matter how you look at it. Now, I'm fishing for a shot here. I'm looking around, but I'm being paranoid. Now, I didn't know the E75 was on my side of the map. And this dude, he has a great game. He has a fantastic game. Gets stuck right in there, side scraping like an awesome E75. And I'm shaking the turret here, trying to avoid getting popped by the Freedom. I'm fishing around for more targets, and I believe it was at this point, eventually, I do look over to my left. I see it's my E75. He's all alone. And I start to panic, and I'm like, I gotta help this guy out. I gotta get this guy out of this spot, because when somebody throws up that help indicator, it means shit's going wrong, usually. But I think he directed it more at the T29 that was helping him out. So, at this point, I'm starting to feel the pressure. I'm starting to sit here and say, alright, I gotta get through these guys. Now, I can't go flying across the left side directly back the E75 up. That would be the wrong play, actually. All too often, you'll see heavy tanks. It's not necessarily a bad strategy, but the issue is you leave yourself open to getting flanked. All too often, I see heavy tanks try to do that, and it's the wrong move in some cases. In this situation I'm in, I'm basically plugging up gaps in the line. And you can see right here, this Freedom, the Panther, and the other heavy medium tank that's sitting on that hill, they're wanting to flank around on this E75. I'm not letting them. And me being here is enough of a deterrent to keep these guys from doing it. I'm slapping this Freedom, I'm hitting my stride now, and I'm starting to land my shots. And I'm feeling really, really confident in this position I'm in. Now, I just seen the E75 took a hit, and at this point, the indecision really starts to hit me, and I say, I gotta hit. I gotta get through here. I can't let this guy die. He's doing his part. I gotta now go in there and be aggressive. Enemy T-29 pokes his head out. For whatever reason or another, he decides to YOLO out, fires a shot on the move, we finish him off. I'm a little nervous of that Motherland heavy tank, so medium tank. So I start backing up here, getting ready to deal with him. Teammates back me up, and they hit him. I take a hit from the CDC. I said, fuck it, it's a hit I gotta take. We punch the Tiger 1, get him out of the fight, and now we see the E-75 has been completely flanked. Now we gotta round the corner. We're gonna punch the ticket for this Panther 88, and this fight's starting to look pretty darn good now. Now, the E-75 just took an HE shell from the T-49, and I goofed my shot here. The barrel of this M103 blocks my shot. Just poor aim on my part. I should have knew better. So I'm now struggling to get the reload. I want to plant the CDC. I'm not going to be able to fight off 3 tanks by myself. I'm not quick enough on the reload. Freedom rounds the corner. Freedom should have stayed right there, and I wouldn't have been able to do anything. But he comes around the corner here. We plant a shot into his side. And the E-75 is handling business here against the CDC, who decided he wanted to brawl with a Tier 9 heavy tank for whatever reason. E-75 backs up into me. I was wanting to get around to help him out. And the T-49, enemy T-49 realizes this is a losing fight. It's time to get out of Dodge. And that's the advantage of the 103. It's a heavy medium, in the same way the T-10 is for the Soviets. Now, I think a lot of people see that and they think, well, T-10's the better tank. Yes and no. The T-10 has no gun depression, and the gun, while it is good, don't get me wrong, it's not as good as the 120 on the M103 and the Conqueror, simply because the M103 and the Conqueror can engage tanks from a variety of distances. T-10, you got to engage them at reasonably close to medium range, simply because the gun handling, while it is there, it's not that good. Then again, I guess if you're coming from the IS-3, I guess you might have a very different opinion. The gun is pretty damn good then, from that point of view on the T-10. But if we're comparing the 120 and the 122, the 120 is a more finessed, heavy tank gun. You can use it up close, where it's not that strong, but it is capable at a distance. And it's a reasonably capable machine, and that's where the 103 sets itself apart. It can engage at a variety of distances. Like I said, though, whatever the 103 can do, but arguably the Conqueror's flat out better. I went to engage T-29, E-75 slaps him, so I wasn't able to get my 5th kill there. And I'm going to be denied any hope of a Top Gun here, which you'll see here real soon. But that's what I've always found really kind of amusing about the 103. It's not a bad tank, but power creep has kind of bit this tank in the ass a little bit. Now, is this like an M48 Patton? No, it's still a capable machine. Like I said, on paper, the armor is there on this tank compared to a Conqueror. And chances are I probably have just had shit luck going up against M103s. I've had a lot of issues trying to pin them sometimes from the front compared to a Conqueror, where I've had no issues. So, yeah, maybe that's shit luck on my part, but I've always felt like the 103 was, while the armor is there, like I said, on paper, it really isn't when you go up against E-75s and Yag Panther 2s and Yag Tigers. It just isn't there then. But you have to consider the guns being shot at you. Even the Conqueror doesn't have it, and the Conqueror relies purely on its gun compared to the 103. And it's a smaller target. Alright guys, this gameplay is actually coming to an end. I will catch you guys later. Peace out.